Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to my studio. This is Paint with Lovejoy. Thank you so much for joining me today. If this is your first time here, make sure you hit the subscribe button and check out my other videos. If you're here for a repeat time, 3-4 times, thank you so much for coming back and painting, and thanks for getting creative at home. In today's painting, we are going to be painting these really cool dragons. And this particular video is going to be a bit more for my beginner painters that have had maybe painted one or two before this, and you're going to get kind of comfortable with what I call wet on wet blending. So this is a great place to kind of practice your blending, and we're going to break it up into a couple of sections, so you'll be repeating your skills a couple of times as we go through this painting. So it's excellent practice, and you know, who doesn't love a dragon? With this one and all my videos on my channel, if you feel like switching out colors, maybe you want to make your dragon a different color or your background a different color, please go ahead and do that. You have full permission to switch up and change colors. So what you're going to see in the description box below is a link to a supply kit. And in that supply kit is everything that you need for this particular painting. So grab your extra supplies or whatever it is that you need to complete this painting, and then pick the video back up where you left off. Another thing that you're going to see is what I call a traceable, and there's a link in the description box below. And that traceable is a way for you to get your initial image on your canvas before you even start painting. And for my beginner painters, it's a really nice way to take out some of those beginning stress and frustration of painting at home. So check out the link for the traceable, and check out, there's a video on how to transfer your traceable. If you do not want to use the traceable, you can pause the video after the outlines are done and draw what you see on the screen, and then kind of move into painting. So there's always options, and all of these are just to kind of get you more comfortable with your tools and the skills that you're developing. As you get more comfortable with your painting skills and painting at home, and you're ready to kind of take your skills to the next level, I want you to check out my online school, paintwithlovejoy.com. And on there, I have my intro to palette knife painting class. I do have my featured paint your pet class. And with that, it is geared towards first time and beginner painters, and it's going to make your current skills even better. So like I said, when you're ready to check out the next level and push yourself, go ahead and check out my online school. And it's a lot of fun. Many of my students over the last, 7 years have really impressed themselves with what they've painted when they painted their pets. So definitely check that out. As always, make sure you enjoy the process, have fun, relax. It's just painting. It's not the end of the world. And you're already successful just by attempting right now at home. So keep painting, keep getting more comfortable, and your life will be a little bit better for it. So I think that's enough talking. Let's go ahead and get started painting. Alright guys, this is going to be a fun painting, especially for my dragon lovers. So gather all your supplies, make sure you turn on your favorite music, and as always, make sure you take your progress photos. Now in this painting, once you've transferred your traceable to the canvas, you've got two options, and I do recommend option number 1. And you're going to go over all the lines that you just transferred with black paint. And I want you to use the pointy brush and play with the pressure of your brush as you go over these lines. You will have some kind of fat lines and you will have some skinny lines. It's okay if you have both. But I want you to kind of play with the pressure of your brush. So light pressure is going to create those skinnier lines. A little more pressure will create a wider line. And all you're doing is just getting comfortable with holding the brush and the pressure of your brush. If you are short on time, you can do option number 2, which is using a Sharpie marker and just going over all those lines from transferring from the traceable. So like I said earlier, I do recommend option number 1 just for practice. So once you've got all your lines on there, and if you used paint, I do want you to let the paint dry before you move into painting your background. And you are welcome to change colors. You do not have to use the same colors that I use. And here I am going for a straight red background, and you can see a few different brush strokes to try that I'm demonstrating on screen. So try the wide one, try the skinny brush stroke, and then try making the X marks. And whichever one you find comfortable, stick with that as you are filling in your background. Now you are going from the edges of the dragon to the edges of the canvas, filling in that entire space. And because I wanted kind of a bold red, I am not mixing my red with anything. If you mix your red with white, you'll actually end up with pink. And if you mix it with a touch of black, which we will do later on as we're painting the background, you get a bit more of a burgundy color. But feel free to switch this out to be anything you want for your background. And I am using student grade paint, and if you're using student grade paint at home, you may notice that it's a bit on the transparent side, and maybe your brush strokes are showing up. So I do want you to apply your paint a little bit thicker, kind of like icing a cake, or you can do 2 coats, 2 layers of paint. Once this dries, just do another one. And that will help give you more of an opaque coverage. So adjust what you need to based on the paint that you are using. All right, and if you do happen to go over some of those lines, or if you paint your background on the inside of your dragon, don't freak out. Acrylic paint dries in about 15 minutes, so anything that you paint that you don't like, you just paint on top of again after it dries. And you'll see in this video that we do a couple of layers with some of the designs and details on our dragon. So again, if you're one of my first-time painters, congratulations, good job for painting at home. If you are holding your breath right now, take a deep inhale. You're doing awesome. I'm really proud of you for painting at home. Nice. And hopefully you already feel a little more relaxed after painting your background. And here you can see that I'm actually going over with a second coat, a little bit thicker. So being very generous with the amount of paint that I'm applying. And as you get more and more into the groove of painting, I do recommend that maybe 1 or 2 colors when you run out, maybe switch up and grab the artist grade paint just so you can see the difference in the consistency and figure out what you like working with. All right, good place to pause the video and take a progress photo. Now we're going to take a little bit of black, and we're not going to use the straight black. We're going to mix a little bit of it with the red. And then we're going to paint directly on top of our background. And because our background is wet and we're applying a new kind of a dark burgundy color, we're going to be mixing the two on the canvas. You can see where I just kind of slapped it on there, and then I had quite a bit of paint on my brush, so I wiped my brush off, and then I'm going back and just kind of with light pressure manipulating the background color and the new color that we just introduced. And you can do this with a different color if you want to use yellow or orange. Again, if you use white on a red background, you will get pink. So if you don't want pink, don't touch the white. But I am kind of keeping it some bit of a shadow more towards the bottom of the canvas. Again, if you're inclined to put it somewhere I do not, go right ahead and do that. If you feel like finger painting and moving it and blending it with your fingers, go right ahead and do that as well. Very therapeutic to do some finger painting. And you can see where I'm grabbing a bit more of that direct black and putting it just at the bottom so that way it's the darkest spot. And then I have a little bit of the burgundy before it moves into the red. Again, the more that you do this, the more comfortable you'll be with layering your paint and applying it a little bit thicker. But you're doing a great job. All right, pause the video, take your progress photo. All right, so we're going to be doing some warm colors here. So I'm still using that medium flat brush and straight yellow paint. So in this video, we're going to get really comfortable with working with the wet on wet blending. So again, I am applying this yellow paint kind of thick because I am using student grade paint, and I want it to be thick enough so that way it stays wet a little bit longer and we can blend some of our orange into it in the next couple of steps. So if you've never done wet on wet blending, this is a good video to do it with. All right, so you can see now that I actually switched brushes, and while the wing is still wet, I'm taking that orange, just like we did with the black in our background, and putting a few spots on there. And you can see quickly that the orange is still starting to mix in with the yellow, and then using light pressure, just kind of again blending the two together. Now, if you did have a lot of orange on your brush, it is okay to wipe it off before you go in to do the blending. And again, feel free to use your fingers and finger paint and blend some of your colors. This is one of the very therapeutic parts about painting. It's just mixing and blending colors. And again, this does get more comfortable with more practice. And here you can see I grabbed a little bit of red. Again, just trying to go a little bit darker. And a tiny amount of red goes a long way as you're mixing it and blending it into other colors. So start off with a small amount, and you can always add more. All right, another spot to take a progress photo. And we're going to repeat this concept as we move into the body of our dragon. So we're going back to the yellow, and we're going to fill in his main body, and then we're going to do the same thing with the small pointy brush and orange paint put on top of it. And I am going kind of in sections, so that way for those of you that may be painting a little bit slower at home, you can kind of just do small sections, do the blending, and then move on to the other section. All right, remember to breathe. You're doing great. And again, if you preferred to maybe have shades of blue or purple on your dragon or a different color, you are more than welcome to just switch out your color and replace it for what you see me using on the screen. And maybe you paint your painting 2 times. Maybe you follow along and use the colors I use, and then maybe paint it a second time with colors of your choice. The more that you paint, just the more comfortable you're going to get. And that's why I recommend that you find a monthly creative outlet. Same when we get into the face. And again, just using light pressure, moving my brush in the direction of the neck, the curve of the neck, and blending this in with the yellow. Your call, how much orange you add to here, if you even add orange, if you add the red, make this dragon your own. All right, and moving into the face, and still using some of those lines from earlier just as a general area of where we're going to be placing it. You're doing good. Hopefully you're a little more relaxed now. And your dragon's starting to take shape. Maybe start thinking about what you want to name your dragon. What kind of personality does your dragon have? These 2 dragon paintings were actually done for a class, a fundraiser. I think it was called Team Survivor, and their logo was a dragon. And they are all cancer survivors that work out together and row, as in crew, rowing on the... Actually, we're in the ocean out in San Diego, but sometimes it's done on a lake. Great exercise, and great camaraderie between a lot of the women that came to class. So they had this dragon option and the other dragon painting option that's on my YouTube channel. All right, so here you can see I'm adding a touch of red to a few areas. And again, remember the red goes, a tiny amount of red goes a long way. So start off just kind of sparing, and then again using light pressure as you blend it in with your wet paint of that yellow and orange. And as you're doing this, get in the habit of stepping away from your canvas and observing your canvas from about 5 to 10 feet away. And this is closer to the normal viewing distance that we look at most things in life, and especially artwork. And I tell all my students, don't be upset if you like it more from that distance compared to 2 feet in front of you. All right, pause the video, take your progress photo. I'm going to keep moving along. All right, pause the video, take your progress photo. All right, we're going to move into white paint and kind of going right on top of the yellow again, doing some of that wet on wet blending. These are going to be the highlights, so it's going to make that yellow just a little bit lighter. And as you do the blending, I wiped the brush off and going back to do that blending. You will notice that the white does get kind of lost very quickly in the pigment. So you want to just use kind of a few short little brush strokes on top of it, softly blend it in with that yellow. The more you move your brush, the more the two are going to blend. And if you lose that kind of that white value, just reapply your white, move your brush again, but just move it a little less than you did a minute ago. Again, the more practice that you get, the more comfortable you'll get at this wet on wet blending method. But you're doing great. It's super therapeutic just to move paint on canvas. And going back to the wing, it should still be wet if you're moving pretty quickly. All right, so now we're actually going to be mixing yellow and white, and we're going to keep it closer to the light side, so it's kind of a light lemony yellow color. And this is going to be the color for, I guess, the mane, the hair, the spikes, whatever you want the spine of your dragon to be. And it is overlapping a little bit on the background. There we go. And again, going right over those black lines, moving your brush kind of in the direction that the hair would flow, just helps kind of with the brush strokes and the direction of what our eye is looking at. All right, pause the video, take your progress photo. And mixing just a little bit of yellow in there, so still making that same mixture, that white and yellow. And again, we're going to go over the belly of the dragon. You should still be able to see some of those black lines showing through. So don't stress about kind of painting in between each one of those. Paint right on top of it. And then we'll be using the black lines that we can see from underneath for a little bit of the shading that we'll do in the next couple of steps. But you're doing great. We are almost at our underpainting, and our underpainting is when there's no canvas space showing. And that usually it starts to feel a little bit more like our dragon. It feels better, and our eye is starting to recognize more of what we're looking at in the value scale. So you're doing great. Hopefully you have not been thinking about other things in your life while you're painting this, and that's one of the best parts about painting. All right, so now I'm grabbing some yellow and using the lines as my base. So kind of right at the, like if you look at each scale, it's almost like a teardrop shape. So at the top of the teardrop where it's the smallest, using a little bit of yellow and just placing a few little dots in there. It does not have to be perfect or exact in any way. It's still going to give the illusion that we have kind of these scales on the underbelly of our dragon, and it's just kind of breaking up the space of that lighter color we just put on there. So again, don't feel like you have to get every little scale in there. As long as you get at least 90% of them, it'll still give us the illusion we're looking for. And as you're doing these and getting into the smaller areas, using light pressure and just the tip of your brush to place a tiny little dot in some of those small, tight areas. Remember to breathe. You're doing great. All right, so again, just making that light yellow mixture again for the eye. If you want a bright, intense red eye or orange eye, feel free to switch out the colors. And if you happen to overlap that black pupil, don't stress, we'll reapply it in a later step. And once the eye is done, we should officially have all our canvas space filled in. So if you can see any white canvas space showing, just go back with the appropriate color and fill it in with your brush. And if your intuition is kind of kicking in and it's like, oh, put a little color here, trust that. Go ahead and put that color in that space. If you want, put a little bit of that straight yellow on the perimeter of the eyeball. All right, pause the video, take your progress photo. All right, we're going to move into black paint, and we're going to go back into the outlines. I do want you to make these a little bit thicker, overlapping the background and the dragon. And again, as you're doing your outlines, mind the pressure of your brush. I want you to kind of have medium pressure on this one, so that way your lines are, again, overlapping your background a little bit, as well as overlapping the colors inside the dragon. When you get to doing the scales again, take your time and just use light pressure in the tip of the brush. You can add a touch of water to the black paint, and that will kind of increase a little bit of the fluidity, but keep in mind that you never want your brush dripping wet with paint or dripping wet with water, because if you get a water droplet that drops somewhere on your background, on your dragon, it's going to cut it right back to the canvas and be a nice white dot on your canvas. So you just have to go back and apply more paint. All right, and take your time again as you're doing this. Your muscles are learning a lot. Your brain is learning a lot. You're doing great. And if you do find that you're still holding your breath, I've found that if you exhale as you touch the canvas, you're less likely to hold your breath, and it makes it a little bit easier. So think about exhaling as you touch the canvas with your brush. Because when you hold your breath, it actually makes your muscles more tight and it's not as fun. So make sure that you're breathing, and that's also part of the therapeutic part of painting, is just relaxing, breathing, and enjoying the process. There you go. And again, as you get into the scales, just light pressure using the brush kind of like a pencil, using just the tip of it. If you are super frustrated with doing the scales, let your paint dry. This is a light enough color that you could go back with a Sharpie marker. Again, just options. It is to your best benefit to practice with the brush. And one thing that you may notice is after you've been doing quite a few of the outlines, you may have a lot of buildup on your brush. So feel free to kind of wipe the brush off, clean off that extra paint, and that will bring the bristles kind of back together and give you that nice kind of pointy tip. So try not to get frustrated. You're doing great. You're learning a lot right now. And a lot of the skills that you're learning in this painting will show up even more the next time that you paint, because you're learning it as you're going through the process, and you'll have some time to marinate on it before you move into your next painting. And that's really what painting is about, is just kind of getting more and more comfortable with the process and maybe doing a little bit better than the last time that you painted. That should be your goal. Try not to compare yourself to other people. Painting is a lot like handwriting, and each person has their own style. All right, so as you move into the mane or the spine of your dragon, I did this kind of as if it was hair, so I'm using little kind of wiggle lines to indicate the hair movement, But if you want spikes on yours, you could move into triangle shapes or real rigid lines for your spine of your dragon. Completely your call. And these lines again are overlapping the background as well as going on top of the spine or the mane of your dragon. You're doing great. This is taking shape very nicely. Doing a few of the lines on the inside of the neck. Again, kind of pop art, kind of action lines in there. All right, pause the video, take your progress photo. We're going to move with a few other colors on top of this. These are all completely optional. We're going to use white paint, and if you did paint over that catch light in the eye, you're just going to reapply it. And then we're going to use the white kind of randomly in a few areas to make some of these highlights pop a little bit more. So your dragon color should be definitely dry, and we're just going to be putting this white paint in a few areas indicating that this is where the light is hitting first. So as you're watching me on the video, just kind of mimic the few places that I am putting the white. It doesn't have to be exact, just kind of in the general area of where I'm putting them. And again, if your instincts are telling you to put it somewhere else on your painting that I do not, trust that. Go ahead and do that and add it to your painting. And again, as you're doing the little chin hairs, play with the pressure of your brush. You are overlapping the background, and because the background's so dark, these light lines show up very nicely. And again, remember to get out of your chair, look at your painting from a distance of 5 to 10 feet away, and assess how it's looking from that distance. Because when you put it on the wall, that's going to be about the distance that you'll be looking at it, is from 5 to 10 feet away. When you take your progress photo with your cell phone and you look at it on your screen, it's the same thing as looking at your painting from 20 feet away without getting out of your chair. So feel free to utilize that as a reference point while you're painting, so that way you can kind of see what it looks like from that distance. And a lot of things in art are just kind of tricking your brain, learning to look at it from a new perspective. So you're going to find all your ways to do that. All right, pause the video, take your progress photo. And if you like your painting as is, you do not have to do the other steps that I do in here. Sometimes a part of me wishes I had stopped a painting sooner than I did, but that gets to be your call. So in these next couple of steps, I'm going to be adding other colors to the mane and to the inside of the dragon. And they're really just kind of random. I like using a lot of crazy cool colors in my normal artwork at my studio, so I couldn't help myself. And I'm going to be putting some red in the hair. I think there's going to be some blue and back to white again. And by doing these kind of multiple colors, it just adds fullness to the mane or the spine for the hair that I'm doing on my dragon. But again, this is your painting. You can omit some of the steps. You can add things that I don't add. If you want a fire breathing, you can add some smoke or some fire coming out of his mouth. But again, your call on what you want to add or change to your painting. And if you do different things, or if you just paint along with what I'm doing, make sure you send me an email of what you paint, a photo of what you paint. I really like to see the different directions that people take these paintings. And I love seeing that people are painting at home. All right, you can see that I add the red in a few other areas, just kind of maybe intensify some of the shadows. Again, trust your instincts. All right, pause the video, take a progress photo. And again, optional step here, I move into the blue, start adding more to the mane, maybe a few other colors. There we go, I do put them on top. And I like that this painting, I'm actually using quite a few of the primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, with our secondary color of orange in there. And I think that's the only secondary color I use. So again, just kind of have fun with it. If you're wanting to maybe use purple instead of blue, go for it. If you don't even want to do this step, you can skip it. Hopefully you named your dragon, your pet dragon. And again, as you're watching this, you are strengthening your power of observation and just making what you look at and how your brain assesses it stronger. So as you get into more and more painting, that is a very good skill to develop, which is your power of observation. All right, and just going back to the red, intensifying a few of the hairs and neckline. Again, completely your call how much or how little you add of this to your painting. And don't take yourself too seriously as you're adding these extra ones. You can see that I'm actually kind of sloppy as I'm applying it on there, kind of thick. So again, you're just having fun. Enjoy the process. Hopefully your dragons turned out awesome. I hope you like them. Feel free to do the video a couple of times if you want to change out things. But so glad you guys are painting today. Thanks for taking time out of your day. I look forward to the next time that we paint. Cheers. Hey guys, I hope your paintings turned out really cool. I hope your dragons look awesome. As you are uploading these to social media, please tag me at paintwithlovejoy or hashtag paintwithlovejoy or email them to me, paintwithlovejoy@gmail.com. I can't stress enough how excited I get when I see your pictures and I see that you're painting at home, and it gives me a lot of motivation to continue to make these videos. So let me know how you're doing. With that being said, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, things you would like me to paint in the future, please leave a comment and let me know. I look through all of those and I try to answer comments and questions usually twice a day, in the morning and evening. And again, remember, when you're ready, check out my online school, paintwithlovejoy.com. And check it out. There's kits, there's more in-depth classes, all the YouTube videos are on there. But please keep painting at home. You're doing a great job. Thanks again so much for painting with me. Really appreciate taking time out of your day and you're spending it with me. So great job for painting, and I look forward to painting with you in the future. Cheers.